aspects, something went bad and he just decided to run away from it and not fight. It just seemed like something he wouldn't do, being that in A New Hope, he wanted to go and fight. He wanted to go and be part of this thing that was bigger than him. And now he feels like I should run from it. Now granted, like I said, he might have felt like that was the right thing to do, or maybe he convened with Obi-Wan and Yoda posthumously and they were saying, well, you know, maybe you need to be in exile to strengthen yourself, and then he's supposed to come back at a certain time, and maybe they're trying to get him to come back earlier than when he is supposed to. But you could have like the whole thing with Rey doing stuff with Han, and then Finn tags along too. And then you have Leia trying to get through to Luke, and things like that happen. And then they end up finding the first Jedi Temple, and it becomes like this big set piece where the First Order throws everything at them. Not another Death Star, because that's stupid, but they just come in there and they destroy the temple. And in that conflict, Kylo Ren could show up, because if I guess he can't really change, so I guess I'm just saying what would have worked going back to this first film if they had changed some things. But let's just say Kylo Ren never took off his mask and he was a legitimate threat. He shows up with First Order soldiers, they're destroying shit, and then we finally see the Knights of Ren, because, I mean, up until now, that whole First Order has looked like a joke. But let's just say the Knights of Ren are these crazy, fucked up motherfuckers that they don't normally let get involved in things unless it's really, really heavy, because they are ruthless. So they show up, everything's blowing up, shit's crumbling, blah blah blah, and Han Solo dies saving Rey in that conflict. And then it's revealed that Han Solo is her father. So his fatherly instincts compelled him to try and save his daughter, and gave his life for his daughter. Then it turns out Kylo Ren is her brother. And now she has to face her brother, who has become really powerful. If they had an actual writer working on this and not executives, you could have put together a story that would set up a second film that would have been huge. But right now, I feel like the second film is going to have clunky exposition. You're going to have to explain who she is, because they're probably thinking, okay, well, people are seeing that she's a Skywalker, so we need to come up with some new shit that's probably going to make it go more the route of Lost and not Star Wars. So that's my concern. If you make her a Skywalker, you could do a lot more things with her than if you just decided to make her Force sensitive, which is the lazy way of doing it. Or even if you want to spice it up a bit, you make her, what's the word I'm looking for? You make her a former Jedi trainee that had to be protected away somewhere. Or maybe Luke wanted to protect her because he realized that that's Han and Leia's kid. And that keeping her with them would just risk her life further. So it's best that she's just not even involved in anything, because at least they know she would be safe. Because if you have her at their side, there's always the risk that whatever shit goes towards them or comes at them might get her in a way and get her killed. And they might have thought, well, we already lost your brother to the dark side. We can't lose another kid. So let's kind of just, hide you away. All the things they can do if they just stopped and made a film and not care about what people think. Here's the thing, right? If you make a good Star Wars film, it doesn't matter if you hit all the bullet points, people will go see it. I think the reason why a lot of people didn't like the prequels is because they just don't feel real. They have the Star Wars spirit, they just look like video games. And this film felt real. Felt like a real substantial film. Because like I said, Jakku would have been a green screen. Yeah. That would have been a green screen. What's the planet they were on with where they went to what's her face's Maz. Was her name Maz?
I keep forgetting the name of that planet.
But that planet would have been a green screen. Carrie Fisher would have been a green screen. Did you hear about Carrie Fisher? She actually used to have sex with Princess Leia fans. And someone posted saying someone give her a Nobel Peace Prize. I think people have heard my theories of what could possibly happen moving forward. What do you think might happen moving forward, or what would you like to see happen moving forward? Sex scene? Me too. On some Jessica Jones shit.
I know there were complaints about the prequels getting too political. Like some felt the stuff with the Senate was the slowest parts of the movies. I liked them, and I would like to see kind of the process of the Senate being restored, either on Chandrilla or Coruscant, and you know who I'd like to see as Chancellor.
Billy D.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. If you're trying to build a villain for anything, right? There isn't a bigger villain than political figures. Instant villain. Because no matter what they do, someone hates them for what they do. And if they're just a horrible human being, well then a lot of people hate them. That is the big bad. Along with big business, people didn't just like the Joker in The Dark Knight because he went after mobsters. He went after the whole system. And in a sense, he became the hero of that film. Whenever the Joker was on screen, people wanted to see what he was going to do to fuck with someone, to fuck with the people there. People weren't sitting around saying, oh, well, I really just want to see Batman do good. Because doing good Batman isn't interesting. Crazy Batman's interesting. That's why people like Michael Keaton. And even when they introduced other villains, you still wanted to see what was going on with him. So, I feel like if you really want to make this theme big, going political, I think, is necessary. I never thought that was a huge problem with the prequels either. I just felt that people are just stupid. We got to think about this, right? People sometimes are just stupid. And they don't want to do extra thinking. It's kind of like the architect scene at the end of Matrix Reloaded. I understood what the man was saying. But then again, I'm smart. I'm intelligent. But the average person, they were like, oh my god, what is this? I don't understand what he's saying. And it's funny because it was very similar to when I saw Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon when I was young. And I knew that it was subtitles, and I had no problem because I've been a reader my entire life up until then. Up until then, I had been reading since I read my first book when I was in, what's it called? Preschool? Something like that. And then like I said, I was reading Stephen King when I was 5. So, I didn't mind subtitles, but like, during the movie, people were like, oh my god, I can't do this. I just can't read anymore. I'm sitting there like, it sounds like someone's waterboarding you in the fucking movie theater. I can't read anymore. No more. No more reading. Please. I beg you, anything. Just no more reading.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, people just couldn't deal with reading anymore. I love watching anime with the subtitles and hearing the original language. I like watching foreign films with the original language and the subtitles. Sometimes I don't even put the subtitles on. Sometimes I just like to kind of figure out the story just by watching it. But yeah, the political stuff, people were just upset over that because it made them think. And they were like, we don't want to think about real world shit when we go see Star Wars. Well, that's the best way to immerse someone into something that they're trying to get into or partake in to get away from real life. when you want to make a superhero relatable, you have real life shit happening. That's why people love Peter Parker so much, because even though he's Spider-Man, and he should just be going around saying, I'm Spider-Man, and that's it, he still has to get a job, he still has to pay his bills, he still has to put himself through school, so you identify with him. He has to do it at the Bursar's office, he has to do with a lot of stuff that people deal with in real life, that's why people like him. I feel like if you put those human elements into something that's out in space, people will come back to it. Because even though I realized I was being manipulated with the Ray-Finn relationship, I really did want to see those guys get together. I felt like she was a lonely person who didn't have any friends because she's just a scavenger. She meets someone who also felt like a fish out of water because he was by himself, even though that Finn shit is weak sauce, because if he's been conditioned from the time he was a fucking baby, by the time he got to an adult, because he had to have been in his early 20s, he should have no qualms killing. And the thing that was always, that a lot of people have noticed, that I noticed, is that his stance should have been, I don't want to do any killing. Because in the beginning, his friend got killed and smeared the blood on his helmet, and he couldn't take that his friend got killed, and then afterwards, they wanted him to shoot innocent people. Those two things drove him away from it. What he should have been doing in the film is he shouldn't have wanted to fight anyone. He shouldn't have wanted to kill stormtroopers, because he knew that some of those people were just misguided, brainwashed children who were kidnapped just like him, and were unfortunate enough to break away from the system. So what should have happened, right? Again, if you actually had writers working on this and not board members, he should have been passive to violence until someone threatened Rey's life. Then he had to go in there because he cared about her. And he had to do something because he cared about her. The character, like Mr. Miyagi, what was so great about Mr. Miyagi? Not because he was an action star, but because he fought only when necessary. And he's like, Daniel-san, I teach you karate, not to fight. You know, so I feel like, again, his character needed some polish. Rey needed some a lot of these characters needed polish. And we needed more fucking Phasma. What the fuck was that all about? You got people hyped and shit. Silver stormtrooper outfit, got the little fucking cape on. You're thinking, you know what? This is a cold bitch. I thought she would have at least died in the second movie. I would have thought that she would have at least done some shit in this one, done some shit in the second one, and then she dies in the second one. I mean, you could kind of say maybe, possibly, because that Poe Dameron shit where he's like, he's dead, he thought he was dead, and he shows up in an X-Wing, he's like, look what I found. First of all, motherfucker, okay, how'd you get off the planet? How'd you get off the planet? Secondly, you fell from the ship. I guess if you land in sand, it's not bad. It's not that hard of a landing. But some of the ground there looked really hard. Like, it looked like it would hurt to, like, hit that shit. Right? And then, it's just, try not to think about it and you'll enjoy it. But that's a lot of things. So, I don't know. Again, they can try to salvage or work with what they have, but I felt like, again, they missed a lot of beats in that first film. Like I said in the other podcast, I thought it would have been really cool, inside a Rebel tent after Han died, Chewie sitting there by himself, looking sad. And then in the background, he's in the foreground, his head's hung, in the background you see the tent door slide open or push back, and then you see someone walking towards him, and then when they sit down into frame, it's Leia. And Chewie's just going, he's telling a story about how he first met Han, but it's in his language so people wouldn't understand what he's saying, but Leia would get it, and then you could kind of make up in your head how Han and Chewie met. It could be they met getting an ice cream cone, or they met playing poker or something like that. You know, because they've been friends for what, like 50 plus years or some shit like that, so they've been friends for a very long time. I just would have liked to have seen that moment, and then maybe like a candlelight vigil for them. Maybe it's like we celebrated, but it's bittersweet. But again, like I said, that third act just felt like they wanted to get you in there and get you out. It's like they didn't want to let the film breathe. For all the shit that they give Return of the King about having quote-unquote multiple endings, all that was necessary. You needed Frodo to wake up, and then the Fellowship's reunited, and he's jumping up into bed with his friends. He sees that everyone's okay.